A glowing yellow shell oil sign twirls against the metal blue of rising night. A man stands on the service island dressed in a bright red suit of an expensive cut, one elbow resting on the gas pump. He watches as a battered Oldsmobile pulls into the unpaved lot next to the Sands Motel. The bumper sticker reads, "Power to spare." A man in a gaudy tuxedo jacket gets out of the car and crosses the lot. He fumbles with some keys and enters a dark nightclub by the side door. Back over at the motel, a middle-aged man in a narrow tie and short-sleeved shirt stands out front, filling a cardboard bucket with ice. On the way back to his room, he absently pulls the handle of a Keno machine. An avalanche of coins pours onto the sidewalk as he closes the door behind him. Moments later, a sign goes on outside the nightclub. Red neon letters spell out the words, "Lost, Lounge."
There's a little place on an empty street on the lonely side of town, where shadows hang, widows weep, and sorrow comes to drown, where talk is cheap, thoughts are deep, and the sidewalk stained with tears. I've made my way, and I need to stay, 'cause they'll never find me here. The patrons here are the quiet type. They never fuss or fight, so it's just a spot for a guy like me to spend a silent night. There's a place in every corner where a man can disappear. Twilight trains where the neon fades. They'll never find me here. Here where my nights are free. Here where I'll always be. Here with the same old crowd, where I can hide behind a cloud. Now I've done this act in 1,000 rooms, and I'm tired as I can be. They all love the show, and it must go on, but it goes on without me. Here's a dozen withered roses and an empty cup of cheer. on a stone marquee. You'll never find me here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Lost Lounge. We've got a really great show for you tonight, and it's wonderful to see such a great crowd. Yeah, in fact, it's a little unusual to see such a good crowd. What, did a bus break down or something? You see, we don't get too many strangers here, you know, unless there's some road construction or a sandstorm like the one that's kicking up out there tonight. Once in a while, we get a few stray service station holdup men or army deserters looking for a place to lie low, but you can't all be deserters and desperados out there now, can you? Or can you? Well, of course not, yeah. So it's great to see you all here. Hey, we've got our house band. Yeah. We've got girls. We've got singers. Dancers. Oh, and of course, I'll be here. Your master of ceremonies, Ronnie Montaigne. Well, as you may have noticed, they roll the streets up a little early around here. There's no place else to go. So I guess you're what they call a captive audience. But remember, nobody's forcing you to be here. Nobody's holding a gun to your heads. I know I'm really glad to be here. Well, it seems our band's getting a little itchy back there. Our very own Lost Lounge Orchestra, you know. They're a great band and they've been here a long time. As long as anybody can remember. Yeah. Quite a successful run, if you call this success. Hey, you guys might have to stick around for a while. We've got some live ones out here tonight, huh? Yeah. You see, sometimes when the crowd is thin, we send the band home, put on a tape, cuts the overhead. I like the ZZ Top myself, but you never know what people in this place are going to want. Like I said, we don't get too many strangers around here, but most everybody that does show up is one. Take the other night. I was mingling, getting to know the crowd. I was talking to this guy. He told me his name was John Smith. So I says, hey, Mr. Smith, what brings you to the Lost Lounge? And he says, guess I took a wrong turn and ended up here. I just had to laugh. I mean, it's kind of how I am. Well, anyway, this guy starts reminding me of somebody I knew a long time ago, a buddy of mine. We grew up together back east ways in one of those small towns that have suddenly become bona fide cities, you know, with the gap-toothed skyline and the same franchise restaurants and theme parks you see all over the country these days.
What?
Well, anyway, this guy starts reminding me of a friend of mine. Somebody I knew a long time ago. I've been thinking about him. Well, after junior college, this friend of mine, he gets married. He and his wife, Sarah, I think it was. They were living in a tiny little apartment, trying to save up enough money for a real house on a cul-de-sac, you know, like on Knott's Landing, right? Yeah. Well, my pal had somehow stumbled into selling recreational vehicles, and he was actually beginning to make some money at it. He never realized how many people wanted to take off, head for the hills, escape. All he had to do was get his customers to poke their heads inside one of those units. They'd see the fold-down kitchen table, tiny bathroom, the bunks, and their eyes wouldn't quite focus. It was as if they'd taken a breath in the dusty Nevada desert, or felt a warm breeze blowing off the Gulf of Mexico. They were dreaming, and they were hooked. And he was really moving those RVs, man. And he was socking away the cash for that house on the cul-de-sac that he and Sarah wanted so badly. I guess you could say he was selling one dream to pay for another. Well, pretty soon they got that house. Sarah joined the junior league. My pal joined the Rotary, learned to speak in public. He emceed the JC's talent show one year and did such a great job, they offered him to do it every year from that. They were all set up, but I don't know. Maybe my friend was too good at his job. Those goodbye looks in his customers' eyes, those tales he spun at far-off vistas, it began to get a hold on him, too. Coming home at nights, that picket fence began to look more and more like the bars of a prison cell. And then there was Sarah, sitting on the couch in a pink jogging suit, reading the latest self-help book. For a big night, they'd go to Tiny Steak Ranch, get the salad bar. Yeah, then cruise the local shopping malls looking for bargains. When they got home, Sarah wanted to cuddle. And that was it. No push-up bras, no velvet ropes, no deer penthouse, none of that. It was strictly woman's day. That's when my pal began to realize that this was no dream, it was a trance. It was dull, small time. Loud and fast rules here in the US of A, and my buddy knew that. He felt it in his bones. He needed some action. He wanted to put a little spin on the ball. Yeah, he started leaving work early, heading over to the horse track, rubbing elbows with the unsavory characters. There was this one guy he talked about, Jack Burns. Old Jack Burns. This guy had a line on everything. Horses, women, used cars. I tell you, he was real eccentric. Always wore a red suit. Yeah. I'm not talking maroon or even cranberry. That baby was fire engine red. You could pick him out in any crowd. You could hear him, too. Yeah, he had some kind of shoes that made an awful racket. I don't know, Cuban heels, clogs, maybe. Funny thing, though, despite the flashy suit and the loud shoes, the guy seemed to appear out of nowhere, according to my friend. And then he'd just be gone the same way. Well, this Jack Burns begins giving my friend advice on the ponies, and when he takes it, he always seems to win. After a good day, they'd head over to the Spotlight Club, a favorite of Jack's. Toss down a couple of short ones. Jack Burns knew everybody. You never had to pay for a drink when you were with old Jack Burns. And the ladies, they swarmed around this guy. I mean, he wasn't much to look at, but I don't know, he had something. And my pal, being in the company of such a celebrated figure, he got to know a few ladies himself. But this kind of lifestyle can take its toll on a marriage. And my pal's was no exception. He'd come home later and later, drunk usually. Things came to a head when Sarah called the RV dealership one day, and they said, That guy hasn't worked here for 2 months. Things got ugly pretty fast then. Sarah moved in with her sister, filed for divorce, planned to soak my pal for plenty. He moved out of the house too, got a place closer to the action. And the house sat empty on the little cul-de-sac, and the grass grew long and went to seed. In the back of his mind, my buddy always figured, you know, he'd just sell the house when the divorce came through and give that money to Sarah. He didn't have a job. Bank account was down to zip. What else did he have to give her? Oh, did I mention that he was doing pretty good at the track? Well, that money was in a paper bag in the closet, and nobody, except maybe Jack Burns, knew anything about it. That was rainy day money. That was the getaway stash. But the best laid plans, as they say. Just when the house went on the market, 2 days after the divorce, they discovered toxic chemicals in the soil around the subdivision. Now nobody wanted to live within 10 miles of the place. Not long after they discovered the chemicals, my pal's sitting in the spotlight with Jack Burns telling him his troubles when Rita walks in. She says, she had just met this guy. Might be able to help him out. Jack Burns said he knew of the guy and heard of some people making some quick money off his deals. Well, Rita takes off. Jack looks at my friend and says, I don't know. You know, I know a couple of guys doing some work out in the subdivision, disconnecting the gas lines. Every now and then accidents happen. Whole houses go up in flames. When they do, somebody's got to pay. The gas company, insurance company, somebody. You just call this number and mention my name. When the job's done, slip up a couple bucks to my friends. Reaches into his jacket pocket and hands my friend a quarter. Calls on me. Jack, my buddy says, you're an angel. Old Jack just looks at him, winks, and says, something like that, kid. Something like that. Well, my pal made that call. The next night, around closing time, here's this sound like thunder. I didn't hear anything about rain, says the bartender. My pal just sits there smiling, listening to the fire engine screaming up the street. Pour me another one, he says to the bartender. The good stuff. Pour one for yourself.
beneath your feet, make you fall into the street. Just a little stone, nothing much at all, make you stumble and fall. Endless streets, friendless nights. If I should fall where shadows pool and dreams take flight, just a little stone beneath my feet could make me fall into the street. Just a little stone, nothing much at all, make me stumble and fall. Just a little stone beneath your feet could make you fall into the street. Just a little stone, nothing much at all, make you stumble and fall, and fall, and fall.
Jeez, I'd almost forgotten about the band. Aren't they great? Really, huh? Boy, it's really blowing out there. Did you hear that wind? You know, I can go on like that for days. You gotta wonder where all that sand comes from. Like the whole top of the world's gonna blow right off. You know, sometimes when these things are over, you're half afraid to go outside. Because you think, all those things that live under the sand be right out there crawling around. Oh yeah, but speaking of crawling around, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce a special guest, Big Jim Kaufman, owner of Big Jim's Snake Branch Mystery Cave. All right. Now folks, I know most of you just passing through, but do yourselves a favor before you leave town and check out our one and only tourist attraction, Big Jim's Snake Branch and Mystery Cave. Yeah. Now folks, it's a natural marvel filled with unexplained phenomena. Take, for example, the Devil's Gate. Now, this is just a natural stalagmite formation like all the rest, until you shine a light on it. And then, what can't be explained is the perfect shadow of the devil that falls across the path leading to the cave's depths. Now let me emphasize, this is a natural formation that has not been tampered with. Am I right, Jim? Then, at the very bottom of the mystery cave, some 500 feet below the Earth's surface, is the Lake of the Blind Fish. How they got there, nobody knows. But they've been down there a long, long time. So long, in fact, that they are completely white and totally blind. Think of that. Hundreds, maybe thousands of years, swimming in total darkness with no memory of light, no knowledge of the outside world. Hey, there's all that and a whole lot more. And as you leave the cave, don't forget to visit the Snake Ranch. It's an acre of slithering fun for the whole family. Oh, and while you're there, try the snake sandwich for a taste treat you won't soon forget. Gee, I don't see the rest of our performers around here. I guess they must be caught in the storm. Which is a shame, because they're a talented bunch, really. Some great dancers. Well, great looking. Really great looking. Oh, sorry, folks. I've got kind of a weakness for dancers. There was this one, came out with me here years ago. Her name was Rita. I met her at a low point before my divorce. First time I saw her, she was dancing alone. Well, she was dancing by herself, I should say, because she wasn't alone. It was a crowded bar, and everybody in the place was watching her. Even the women were transfixed. I mean, the way she moved, it wasn't crude or lascivious exactly. The way she moved, the way it made me feel to look at her was like the first warm tickle of a powerful drug, you know? That taste that makes you want more. She seemed the living promise of everything I ever wanted. Wild, beautiful, and loaded with options. How I came away with her that night is as much a mystery to me now as it was then. I felt proud. I thought I tricked her into wanting me. I laughed, I lied, I bought her drinks. Yeah. She might have gone home with anybody that night, but I was in the right place at the right time. I needed a dream. She just needed a place to sleep. Oh, Jesus. I guess since we're getting to know each other so well, I might as well come clean with you. You know that story I told about my pal and his wife? Well, in point of fact, it wasn't about a friend at all. Guess what? It's about me. Yeah. You see, I've always had a little problem with the truth. It's so unappealing. Kind of straightforward. And lying is so much more advantageous. You know, when I was a kid, I lied about everything. When I broke something, I lied. I didn't do it. You know? I lied when I told my parents there was a bear in my room. They didn't believe me. And later, I lied about love. Yeah. I lied when I told her I didn't love her. Then later, when I told her I did. You know, I tried to lie like they do in the movies, you know. I lied when I said, I'll come back. I lie about money. I've got lots of it. Yeah. Check is good. Really. I lied to the IRS. I mean, doesn't everybody? And sometimes, you know, I lied about things that I was totally ignorant of. So accidentally, I told the truth. When I looked in the mirror, I lied. I could say honestly that I don't enjoy lying. It's just self-preservation. But that would be a lie too. Because the truth is, it's such a narrow road. God, it's a path almost, you know? You know, on either side, Disneyland. I mean, the deer and the antelope roam out there, yeah? You know what I mean? Just think of it. 3 or 4 little words, and you can have anything you want. Swimming pools, movie stars. Hey, if JFK had said, hey, I'm banging the hell out of every pretty girl in the North American continent, then what? Richard Nixon would have been president.
Last call when he hears that sound, his blood runs cold and his eyes get narrow. Two more with a clever line, a winning smile and a little flash of gold from an artificial tune, and it's almost like a truth. She prays not to compromise her high ideals for the pull of her base desires. She tries not to see the line on the sunburned hand, the left ring finger so. She blames it on her youth, and it's almost like a truth. It's hard when you make that trade, the real world for the shadows on the wall. So warm in your cozy cave, the jukebox plays and the waitress knows your name. You're safe inside your booth, and it's almost like the truth. Cheap booze in a fancy bottle just isn't quite top shelf. No short shot goes down so sour as the one you pour yourself. How long did he lose desire for that sweet little wife and the house with the picket fence? Taste change, figure what the heck. Time goes by and the kicks get hard to find. Straight up and hold the fruit, ice cold with no vermouth, and it's almost like the truth. It's almost like the truth. It's almost like the truth.
It wasn't long after I moved in with Rita that the real trouble began. You guys don't mind me telling you this stuff, do you? It was about 3 o'clock in the morning and I got this phone call from one of the guys involved with the accidental demolition of my house. He said we needed to tie up a few loose ends. Well, it was the middle of the night. I said, hey, you know, just call me tomorrow and we'll arrange a time to get together. And he said, unless I didn't mind spending some time behind bars, it would have to be tonight. Proceeded to give me direction to a 7-Eleven across town. About half an hour later, pulls into the empty lot, out of the light. He's driving a big Chevy convertible. Looked like somebody else was in the passenger side and a woman was asleep in the back seat. He walks over, glancing around nervously, and gets in on the passenger side. His breath smelled like beer and juicy fruit. The radio was playing a scratchy rumba, and I could see the red and green lights from the dashboard reflected in the dark glasses he wore. He whispered, "Some complications have come up." They involved keeping the nature of the accident a secret. It seems the insurance company that had paid my claim was filing a negligence suit against the gas company and started poking into the records. The other bit of news was that a bum had somehow broken into the house and been killed during the explosion. The fireman found the body blown clear from the house. It was obviously an accident, and since the bum would never be missed, the fireman agreed to keep quiet about it. He even helped get rid of the body. But now, with all these inquiries being made and lawsuits pending, people were getting nervous. The idea was that a little money might help calm everybody's nerves, keep things hush-hush. That's how it was presented. But really, it was only blackmail. That night, I had to give him $5,000. And of course, I kept getting requests for more, you know, late-night phone calls, money wired to odd places, you know. Joplin, Missouri, Notasulga, Alabama. My paper bag in the closet was getting smaller and smaller. I realized that the only way out for me was change my name, move out of town, make it so these guys could never be able to find me. But to do that, I needed money, more than I had left, and I couldn't figure any way out to get myself far ahead enough to make my move, you know? So one night I'm sitting in the spotlight, talking with Jack Burns, telling him my troubles. When Rita walks in and sits down beside us, and she says, "Remember that guy I told you about? Help you out?" Jack nods knowingly. She tells me his specialty was substantial returns on short-term investments. Clearly not a legal operation, right? But, you know, I was in no position to be splitting hairs over ethical niceties. Rita told me the man's name was Plaisier. Milo Plaisier. Jack reminded me he knew the guy. So I decided to risk it. Took all the money I had left and arranged for the transfer. Three days later, I'm sitting in the spotlight, smoking cigarettes and looking at the clock. I'd given this guy everything I had, right? I know it was stupid to trust him, but, well, really, I didn't. What was I gonna do? My back was against the wall. Now he was 2 hours late and I was beginning to sweat. I must have tried his number a dozen times. I tried getting Rita too, but I always got a business signal. Finally, I got through to her. I hoped that she'd been talking to Plaisier, that they had made some other arrangements, you know. But she said no, she'd just been talking to a friend. She sounded kind of pissed off at first. But she managed to calm down real quick. I guess she was trying to put my mind at rest. She said, "Sit tight, there must be some reasonable explanation." Well, I tried that for a while. And then I told the bartender, Mr. Plagier wanted to get a hold of me, he could reach me at Reader's house. It was Sunday, about nightfall. It had clouded up while I'd been in the bar, and as I stepped outside, I could hear thunder. I wanted to calm down, so I decided to take the river road home. A light rain had begun to fall as I made my way along the high bluffs. On the river's far side, I could see oncoming traffic tracing a course parallel to my own. Yeah. The headlights were like yellow orbs in a mirror image. They seemed like thoughts fading into memory. Approaching the bridge across the river, there was this gravel area off to the side. There was a car pulled over with its headlights on, jacked up. A man was loosening the lug nuts on a flat tire. It was Milo Plaisier. What a relief. I mean, there was a reason he hadn't met me at the bar. I turned and said, "Hey, hey." He looked up a little nervously. Didn't seem too happy to see me. I said, "Hey, I'll help you with your flat tire." He just said, "You know, why don't you just go home and I'll meet you there in a couple minutes, you know." But I wasn't going to leave him there in the rain, in the dark. I said, "Hell no, I'll help him out." Well, when I went around to get the spare, I noticed the trunk was filled with boxes and suitcases. Son of a bitch was running out on me. He was leaving town with my money. It was almost in slow motion that I saw him come around the side of the car, swinging the tire iron. Suddenly there was this tremendous thunderclap and flash of light. It sounded like the sky was ripping open. For a second, he froze. Silhouetted against a web of light, the tire iron suspended above his head like an antenna. That was all the time it took me to nail him with a roundhouse punch. I knocked him right into the trunk of his car. I was so furious, not really conscious of what I was doing. I slammed the trunk lid down and began beating on it with a tire iron and screaming, "Ah!" I don't know how long this went on, but eventually I heard him screaming and yelling and kicking and, "Let me out!" Let him out? This pissed me off even more. I gave the car a kick. That turned out to be not a very good thing to do. Because it knocked the jack out and the car began to roll along the embankment beside the river. Now the guy was really yelling and I'm chasing the car because my money's in there. You know? Then it just shot over the embankment, almost like someone was driving. It flipped a couple times and crashed into the concrete bridge above me. The car burst into flames. By the time I got down to it, the fire had reached the trunk. I tried prying the lid open with the tire iron, but I couldn't get it. I could hear Plaisier in there kicking and yelling and screaming, and then laughing. "I've got your money," he cackled. "I've got your fucking money." The fire was getting hotter and hotter, and I thought the car was going to blow. I scrambled back up the bank and stood on the edge of the bluff looking down. But it didn't blow, it just burned. Then I heard something else. A school bus full of Sunday school kids had pulled off the road. This middle-aged lady got out and she was running over me asking what happened. I put my hands over my face and hopped in my car and squealed out, man. Spraying gravel all over the side of the bus. I left the headlights out so they couldn't see my license plates. My heart was pounding. I felt sick. I drove around for a while, making sure nobody was following me. I approached Rita's place cautiously, but there was no sign of police. I told her the whole story. We agreed. We had to leave town that night. So we grabbed whatever we could, threw it in her old station wagon. Our clothes were soaked with rain as we head out on the highway.
Moonless night, an open road, an empty car with a heavy load, a secret pain that'll never show. Where did the good times go? So no one knows. We put on dad and mother's clothes, but they'll never fit, 'cause we never grow. Where did the good times go? There are some things you can't take back. The river flows from north to south. Childhood ended with a kiss that went inside your mouth. So sound the horn and ring the bell. We're dog food now for the hounds of hell. We sowed our seed where the wild winds blow, and that's where the good times go. We sowed our seed where the wild winds blow, and that's where the good times go.
There's something I think I should tell everybody. The bartender just told me that there's a manhunt going on in the area for a dangerous criminal. The police are advising everyone to stay off the roads. Okay. Have you heard about this guy? His name's Ray Moran, and he's nobody to fool with. He and his little brother went on a spree a couple years back somewhere in the Midwest. It seems some bank or other had foreclosed on their old man, took away the house he'd lived in all his life, drove him to suicide, they say. Well, his two boys went loco. Blew up every bank within 50 miles of their hometown. Didn't even rob them. Then, some hotshot FBI agent corners Ray's little brothers in the International House of Pancakes. Dropped him and the boy. Dropped him and a double order of blueberry pancakes before realizing the kid was unarmed. A year later, they found that FBI agent floating down the Bighorn River with his throat slit and his trigger finger shot off. Naturally, Ray Moran is prime suspect. Not one to forgive and forget, I guess. Anyway, now he's out there, so you better stay in here. I'll let you in on a little secret, though. Anybody tries messing around in this place, they'll be made mightily sorry. You see, we don't cater to a real high class of people around here. Oh, present company accepted. And I've been called on more than once to keep the peace. You know, just the other week, some ferret-faced little asshole was in here, getting wise, making comments during my show. Well, I made a few jokes at his expense, trying to shut him up. And he actually pulled a knife on me. Well, I explained to him, you know, I was just kidding around, just having a little fun, but he would have none of it and kept waving that knife around. So I told him he was trying my patience. And I gave him a little goosey gander at this. And I explained to him that I'd be glad to use it on him. He didn't clear out of this establishment pronto. You got that, Jack? Now hit the road. Then I went over and locked that bastard out. In fact, I don't think it'd be a bad idea to lock the door tonight, huh? Keep old Ray Moran from spoiling the party. Some party, huh? Long party. God knows I didn't think I'd be up here this long. I didn't come looking for this, you know. I took a wrong turn and ended up here. I was headed to California with Rita, you know. Yeah. I mean, there I was, heading west again with the girl I loved. It was a good feeling, traveling the same roads I traveled as a boy. But then, about 60 miles east of here, the car man started making a funny sound. It got worse and worse. So we took the first right off the interstate and limped into town here about sundown. We caught Norm over at the filling station. He told us he'd look at the car in the morning and recommended the Sands Motel across the street. Well, we took his advice, checked in, went over to grab a couple of jumbo taco burgers over at the Sands Cafe. As the waitress was bringing us our food, I noticed this flicker of light across the parking lot, red neon. A stuttering luminescence trying to form itself into a word. Lost, it finally flashed. Then a second later, lounge. Peculiar name for a nightclub. We both laughed and figured it couldn't be more appropriate. Well, when we got back to our hotel room, we realized the TV wasn't working. Normally, Rita and I didn't need TV to keep ourselves entertained, if you catch my drift. But hey, we've been in the car for 2 days, and we needed some contact with the outside world. There didn't seem to be too much choice about what there was to do, so we strolled across the dusty parking lot over to the Lost Lounge. Parked beside the entrance was this beat-up old Oldsmobile. It had plastic taped over where the passenger window used to be, and for sale sign on the dash. It had a bumper sticker that read, "Power to spare." Well, like I said, we needed some contact with the outside world, but quickly became obvious that there wasn't going to be any of that in here. I mean, at the bar, there was a couple bored locals watching a rerun of The Fugitive on TV. business as usual at the Lost Lounge. We decided the only thing to do was get drunk. And that we did. So drunk, in fact, we woke up buck naked in the backseat of that old Oldsmobile. We learned more about our evening when we went over to Norm's to check on Rita's car. Norm told us that we were the new MC and dancer over at the Lost Lounge. It seems the bartender had been in earlier and filled Norm in on the details. I guess the previous night I'd been, well, telling jokes and bragging about my experience as a talent show host. But the clincher was when Rita got up on the bar and did a striptease. We were hired on the spot, apparently. Celebrated by buying champagne for the house, which luckily was just us. Oh yeah, and the engine in Rita's car was totaled. So as it turns out, we needed those jobs. I mean, suddenly we were down to our last 20 bucks. We decided to hang around a couple months, make a little money, then head on to California. Didn't quite work out that way. It's funny, I mean, it all started out so good. You know, my folks had this big Ford station wagon, turquoise blue with cream trim, taillights that looked like rockets. Yeah. We headed west, Mom and Dad drinking coffee. You know, even now, coffee out of a thermos reminds me of standing outside of some gas station in Kansas, watching the wind flatten the endless wheat fields. Dad had won the war. Now we were all heroes. I could be anybody. We could go anywhere. And we were good then. We were good. We were riding across America.
Next room over there in a fire, buzz, flash, neon light. Damn pipes gonna bang all night. Steam heat. Trucks shift gears as they go uphill. I'm on the run and can't stand still. Cockroach sitting on the windowsill. Steam heat. Chicken and Chinese food, chain store whiskey, put you in the mood. It's a nasty package and it does include steam heat. Hang up sound on the telephone, broken heart in a house of stone. Have more fun when I drink alone. Steam heat. In the street, we made love to the rumble beat. Steam heat. The river water was dark and deep. story that I'll have to keep. I have bad dreams when I fall asleep. Steam heat. Harvest moon was big and red, lit up the sky like an x-ray head. I remember everything she said. Well, don't trust someone you just met. Don't tell lies that you might forget. Don't lean where the paint is wet. Steam heat. Steam heat. Steam heat.
We're gonna take a little break now, so get a drink, make a phone call. But remember, Ray Moran's out there.
We're gonna take about a 10-minute intermission.
So let's go. Turn down the lights. Turn the lights back on. Eric, where are the lights? Man, not all that much.
Okay, all right, we're back, huh? Hey, thanks for sticking around. I guess that locked door helped a little bit, didn't it? But remember, it's for your own good, all right? That Ray Moran's a rough customer. Hey, did you hear the one about the escaped convict that goes to the gypsy to get his fortune told? Okay? Well, he goes in, he's nervous, see? Gypsy says, just sit down, relax. I'm gonna read your tea leaves. Take it easy, I've gotta go make the tea. Well, the guy's on the run, right? So he says, hey lady, look, I'm in a hurry here. Just use the instant. But really, have you ever had your fortune told? No, I hadn't either. Till a couple weeks ago, but my life, you know, things haven't been going that great. And I heard about this fortune teller over in Plainview, and I thought maybe she could give me a few pointers, you know. So I go over there, I go in, and there's this waiting room right out of central casting, right? It's got the beads and the incense, you know, the usual gypsy stuff. Then there's this little bell on the wall. It says, ring for service. So I'm just about to ring the bell when this old lady walks out from behind the curtain. She looks like somebody's grandmother, you know? So I go over and I say, hey, did you see her? She any good? The gypsy. She gives me this patient, sort of patronizing look, and she goes, there is no gypsy. Did you see a sign that says gypsy? It says fortune teller. A gypsy, if that's what you want, you're gonna have to go someplace else. But the beads, the incense, I say. No. That stuff belonged to the last tenant. She was a gypsy. But she was no fortune teller, she was a fake. I leave her stuff here because people like it. I don't need it. Well, as long as you're here, come on in back. So I follow her. She takes down what looks like a teapot because it's got this quilted tea cozy over it, you know? She goes in the back and she puts it on the table, takes off the cozy, and it's a crystal ball. So what'll it be? She says, all businesslike. So she gazes into the crystal ball a while. I see trouble, Ronnie. Oh, you're a good boy. Or you once were. Or you once wanted to be. But now I don't know. Lots of confusion. Oh. There you are in the backseat of a big blue car. You're in your little cowboy suit and you're going somewhere. You don't seem to know where, but your parents seem to know. They seem to know everything. And she seemed to know everything too, because where was she getting this stuff? She talked about my mother's cough medicine, my father's bowling nights. And then she saw some stuff that I'd done that I wished I'd forgotten. So this gypsy's going on and on about this and that. But all this stuff is stuff that's happened in the past, you know? Cut to the quick, I say. I want to know the future. If you want to know the future, you've got to be able to see the past clearly. Think of this as a warm-up. All right, the future. Do you know any firemen? No, I say. What month is it? September, I say. Oh, too early for Santa Claus. You're gonna get a visit from an old friend, but I can't quite get a handle on his wardrobe. I can't see anything else. Not in the future. Why not, I say? Smog, maybe. Something dark I can't see through. A lot of good that does me, I say. She just says, it's all in what you do with it. So, while this fortune teller had been talking, a storm had started brewing. Clouds rolled in from the west, and you could hear blowing sand ticking against the windows. Listen to that wind, I said. And thunder, but no rain. Yes, Ronnie. Up there, that thunder, it's between you and heaven. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? I said. What's your language? It means your time is up and you owe me $30. So I guess I didn't figure anything out, huh? Is that the point of that story? Look, I'm sorry, folks. You came here for some entertainment, right? Not to hear somebody tell you his life story. I'm just trying to keep the ball rolling until the real show starts. But look, some of the entertainment we've had here, and you're better off with nothing, really. We had a magician here once. He only had one trick. Made things disappear. Oh, all sorts of things started to disappear real suddenly. Wallets, purses, money out of the till. Disappearing. What's so great about that, anyway, huh? Excuse me. I remember how Rita disappeared. We were only supposed to be here a couple months, you know, get the car fixed, make a little money, let the heat die down, you know, then head on out to San Francisco. Suddenly we'd been here a couple years. Things began to change. She stopped making me breakfast on Sunday. At the club, she'd hardly seem to notice me. She talked to the waitress or some guy that was buying her drinks. You know, it didn't bother me at first. I mean, that's how it was supposed to work. She was supposed to get the guys to buy her drinks, you know. That was part of her job. That's how it did work at first. But then, after things started to go bad, I got the wind of the fact that she had started buying the guys drinks. This was clearly all wrong. And it got worse. On stage, in her dance routines, she began to act out things we'd done in bed. Yeah. Things we'd done in passion and tenderness, our secret things. Reduced to a burlesque routine. She played it for laughs. First time she did it, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. When we got home, I asked her how she could have done it. She told me, nobody will know but us. She told me it was a turn-on for her. And then, she began to make love to me in ways I couldn't even describe to you if decency permitted. I mean, I thought I'd done everything. But obviously, I hadn't even scratched the surface. I was like a blind man lost in deep waters. But she found me everywhere, with her hands, her mouth. She fixed me in a stare that sent dry ice down the wires of my nerves. Everything we did, each erotic act, was magnified and distorted. And then wrung dry. And it went on, like a fever dream. I was afraid, but I wouldn't stop. I couldn't stop until I'd emptied myself out of my own desires, emptied myself out like a sick man with the dry heaves. More and more and more. The next night at the club, the whole ritual was acted out in her dance routine. And I could see the waitress looking over me, laughing. A week later, she was gone. Left with some cowpoke from the Paradise Valley. He wore designer boots and drove a pickup truck with seats upholstered in Navajo blankets. Didn't even own a horse.
Band strikes up as lights go down. Hopes will rise all over town. There's not enough to go around. That's the secret of love. Each cocktail napkin buys a chance. Another dime, another dance. A love affair or just romance. That's the secret of love. hexagram of swizzle sticks. Your heart is full of broken bricks. You swear each time you learn the tricks and the secrets of love. The band strikes up as lights go down. Hearts will break all over town. She's taking off her wedding gown. That's the secret of love. That's the secret of love.
I can see by the looks on some of your faces that Rita's not the only one disappointed with my performance here at the Lost Lounge. Maybe I'm not sophisticated enough for your refined sensibilities. Maybe we're lacking the spectacle required to keep your attention focused. But you may have a point there. There may be a little truth in those criticisms. So see, I'm not used to this kind of worldly audience. But I'm not finished with my story, goddammit! Just try to concentrate. Try to stick with it. Hey, Bat. About those dancers and the singers, comedians. I really don't know how to say this, but there are no dancers, no singers, no comedians, no nothing. This is it. There is no show. Or not much of one, anyway. Hey, but how about this? Huh? How about this? Let's hear it for the boys and girls. Let's hear it for everybody that didn't show up tonight. Let's hear it for everybody that didn't show up tonight. Come on. Yeah, let's hear it for the boys and girls. Oh, that's sad. That's pathetic. Yeah. You're angry now. You're upset. Somebody promised you a big show and you got a little one instead. Well, what are we gonna do about that? Huh. And what about me? What about me? Ever since I can remember, somebody's been promising me a really big show. So I sit here patiently. Everybody just walks off the stage. You see, I've been robbed. I've been cheated out of what's mine. And you're upset because you didn't have a very entertaining evening. gonna do? I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna stick it out. The show must go on. We go on. I go on. I go on because it's my show. Maybe it's not the best show. Maybe it's not the show I wanted to do, but it's my show. And you go on. You go on. You go on. You go on. 'Cause I've got a gun! I've got a story to tell. And finally, I got someone to tell it to. So nobody moves. Nobody leaves here alive till I finish telling my story. You got that? Good. Where was I? Just last night, something happened, something terribly important, something that could change everything. It's like this. There was no one in the place. Sometimes, when it's real slow, the bartender takes off and I close up. The band was long gone, skulked off to some sin pit or opium den. I was up here doing my show. Except, as I said, there was no one here to see it. I'll admit, my friend Jim here was doing most of the talking. Well, somewhere along the line, it occurred to me that a game of chance might be just the thing to liven up the evening's entertainment. Then again, same problem, right? Nobody to gamble with. So I pulled up a chair, sat down to think this thing out. As I sat down, my revolver clunked onto the floor. Ah! A game a man can play alone. I emptied the chamber of all but one bullet. I went over and cranked up the ZZ Top. And I sat down and began to play. I remember how still the room seemed, like a fine mist was falling. Above the bar was the Budweiser clock with the dusty little team of Clydesdales going nowhere. I spin the revolver and it makes a sound like the Wheel of Fortune. Then again, click. Then again, click. Somewhere along the line I must have passed out or fallen asleep. When I hear this sound, familiar, like clopping hooves. I open my eyes and I see these two baggy pant legs at the foot of the bar, bright red. I raise my head to meet the eyes of none other than Jack Burns.
Howdy, kid. Where you been keeping yourself? I just stared back at him, speechless. But he didn't seem to notice my surprise. He acted like I'd been away for the weekend. Kind of a thin house, kid. Then his eyes narrowed and he got real serious. But you're not a kid anymore, are you? Hey, we all get older, right? Except for you, Jack. Why, you haven't aged a day in all these years. He brought a big smile to his face. He looked at me and said, well, I'll take that as a compliment. Then he asked me why I'd run off and left my old track buddy behind, you know? Well, you know, Jack. Yep, the blackmailers, the insurance company, that business with Plaisir by the river. I assumed he'd figured that one out. Ooh, that. Did the right thing there, kid. Plaisir got what's coming to him. He looked the place around for a while. He looked at me and says, you ever get tired of playing Hamlet out here in the desert, kid? You know, you don't have a single problem. The little money and a good criminal defense lawyer couldn't care of. I explained to him that I lacked both. That's when he looked at me and said, all you gotta do is want it, kid. It can be yours. You just gotta want it. That's the way it works. He reached over on the table and picked up this bag that he'd laid there. He drew out a couple packs of $20 bills, singed around the edges. It was the money that Plaisir tried to swindle me out of. Tossed the bag at my feet and told me there's plenty more where that came from. Told me he could get Rita back for me too if that's what I wanted. I didn't bother to ask him how he knew she was gone. He reached into the pocket of his red jacket and handed me his card. Told me he was living on a houseboat now in Kansas City. He said, whenever I was ready, just get in touch. Flipped me a quarter. It's your call, Ronnie. It's a big world. Time to play again. As he was leaving, I could hear him talking. It's a big world you got here, kid. It's also outside. Yeah, he laughed at that. Stepped outside. I could hear the big door of the caddy slam shut, and he was gone. Well, I just stood there, suddenly completely sober. My legs were trembling. Jack Burns. The dice had rolled again.
I've seen that face before, somewhere in a dream. Woke up in a cold sweat, woke up with a scream. I've heard that voice before,
That night when I got home from the club, the first thing I did was take that bag of money and throw it in the furthest corner of the closet and cover it with dirty clothes. I sat on the edge of my bed, thinking about every lousy thing I'd ever done. Believe me, that took a long time. The light from the gooseneck lamp seemed harsh and way too bright. The room began to feel like an interrogation chamber. Then slowly the sounds started to form themselves into words. You know, they were saying my name. Ronnie, Ronnie Montaigne. Don't listen, Ronnie, 'cause you're not gonna like this. But this is how it's gonna work out for you. Ronnie, you're gonna grow up to be a worthless nobody. You'll start out with great promise, but you will fail at everything you try and lose everyone you love. Because Ronnie, you'll be afraid of the dark. So your motto will be, don't look. But while you're not looking, the shadows will deepen and the darkness will thicken. And Ronnie, you will walk always amongst the things you fear the most. I woke up gasping, like I'd been holding my breath in my sleep. And I remembered then what the fortune teller had said. A visit from somebody. Not a fireman. Not Santa Claus. It was Jack Burns. It was always Jack Burns. Although it was still night, I looked out the window and I could see a faint glimmer of light reflected off a TV antenna. And I could almost feel it warm me. It's a funny thing, Dawn. The darkness starts draining onto the floorboards. The wind dies down and the night is still. It becomes possible then to begin to see. After the night sweats, when a thing again becomes a simple thing, when the fear subsides and anger like some evil genie returns to the lamp, it becomes possible then to not to beg, but to pray. Prayer. It's got a nicer ring to it than begging, don't you think? But I had to admit I was a little out of practice to pray. But for what? To whom? I knew this guy. His name was Billy Bighorse. He was a descendant of the Loup River Pawnees. He said his ancestors used to pray to the morning star. Yeah. He said they believed that people were stars themselves, fallen from the night sky to walk the earth as human beings. I always liked the sound of that. I believed in the poetry of that religion, if nothing else. Billy also told me that his grandfather told him to go to a high place when you needed to figure something out. I decided to take his advice. I hopped in the old Oldsmobile and I took that gravel road out of town up to Eagle Bluff. I could hear the lonely growl of the big trucks out on the interstate. And looking down, I was slowly able to pick out a few familiar landmarks. I could see the Shell Oil sign click on and begin twirling away down at the gas station. I could see the Sands Motel. I noticed I'd left the light on in my room. And there, across the parking lot, was a little dark box. The place I'd whiled away the last few years of my life, the Lost Lounge. Not exactly Grover's Corners, but from up there it didn't look half bad. I know everybody always says this, but you know, from up high, things really do look like toys. It was a toy village I saw down there. It was like you could just reach out and move the little buildings and cars around. Or just take a giant step and be out of the picture entirely. I'd never been up to the bluff before, and it felt strange to me. The vastness of plains and sky. From up there, and instead of looking like the middle of nowhere, it looked like the middle of everywhere. That gravel road that I always thought of as leading out of town now seemed to be leading into town. Maybe it was one of those ribbons from that dream I had. And then I saw something else. Parked in front of Big Jim's Snake Ranch was an old black Cadillac with red leather seats. Jack Burns' car. It was empty. And I started thinking about what he had said about getting it all back. You just gotta want it, kid. Want what? Truckload of trouble on a road of heartbreak? Is that what I wanted back? I needed some answers. So I turned to face the morning star, and I prayed. Prayed for a sign. Walking back to the car, though, I got to get this nagging urge for something a little more immediate, you know? What's 10,000 years to a star? You know, I'm not proud of this, but, you know, after making the big effort, going to a high place, praying to the morning star, the whole bit, I decided to flip a coin. Well, I reached into my pocket and I took out the very coin that Jack Burns had given to me. Now, if something more immediate were to happen by way of the star, great. Yeah. But if not, it was heads, call Jack Burns, tails, no. So I flicked the coin high in the air. Now this is where it starts to get really weird. This big bird, a hawk or an eagle or something, swoops out of the sky and plucks that coin right out of the air. Goes off over the bluff a ways and drops the coin. I could see it tumbling through space, catching the first rays of the morning sun. So anyway, so tonight, I come in and for the first time in ever, there's actually an audience. I gotta start wondering if something funny isn't going on around here. I mean, are you guys all part of this or what? I mean, hey, look, all I want is a little information, a hint, okay? So I can make a plan. Otherwise, it's just like doing this show, making it up as I go along. I can get away with that here, the Lost Lounge. But out there, it's different, right? I mean, out there, you need a plan. You know? You can't just step off the curb because the sign says walk.
Some maniac might be waiting in a pickup truck, ready to run you down. I mean, there's no Fred and Ethel Mertz living next door. That old stuff doesn't work anymore. Fred Mertz kills people now. And eats them. Look, all I'm trying to say is there's some kind of... If you could help me out. You've heard the story, huh? Any advice you could give me? But you just sit there. Your blank faces like the banks of empty chairs. I might as well be doing this show to an empty house, huh? I might as well be talking to the furniture. 'Cause I get the feeling you're not going to tell me anything, are you? Huh? Or maybe you are all deserters and desperados, huh? Maybe you can't tell me anything. Maybe you just came in here to get some sleep, for a little entertainment. Get out of the storm for a little bit, take your minds off your troubles, huh? Well, I guess we didn't do that, did we? I guess that's what a real show would do, huh? Yeah. Hey, you know, I'd like to do a show like that, right here at the Lost Lounge. A show, a world, so complete, yet so different. That you'd carry away a little piece of it with you. You'd be changed. You'd step outside and it would be as if the night were a curtain. When pulled back would reveal another night. Exactly the same, except we don't have the budget for a show like that around here, huh? We work on a smaller scale with marked cards and rubber eggs. Yeah. So look, folks, I'm sorry if you didn't have a very good time tonight. But listen, we'll be here tomorrow. So if you're in the area, come on back. We'll try a little harder. Yeah. And who knows? Maybe Elvis will drop. Well, I see the bartender is pointing at the clock, and I know the waitress's boyfriend is waiting for her in the parking lot. So hey, drink up, okay? Because like they say, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. But before you go, hey, I've got one for you I don't think you heard before, okay? See, the devil walks into this bar, all right? Goes up to the bartender and says, "Hey, man,
Devil walks into a bar one night. Moon went behind a cloud. Bought himself a shot of top shelf stuff. Takes a look around the crowd. Devil walks into a bar one night. This is what he had to say. It's always a game in a place like this, and the devil always likes to play.
2 cones of yellow lamplight fall across a hand-painted sign illuminating the words, Snake Ranch, Mystery Cave. The borders between the light and shadows begin to fade as the sky gradually lightens. A man in a bright red suit ambles distractedly through a large, empty lot enclosed by a screen and chicken wire fence. The ground beneath his feet appears to be moving. He reaches down and picks up a large snake which coils around his arm and positions a fanged head next to the man's ear. The man laughs, puts the snake down, and continues walking to a door marked Mystery Cave. He steps through the door and makes his way down the long, descending path. At the end of the path is an underground lake. The man in the red suit sits down beside the water, turns on a flashlight, and balances it on a nearby rock. The beam describes a faint green ellipse on the surface of the murky water. Then he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a baggie containing a bologna sandwich. He breaks the sandwich into little pieces and tosses them one at a time into the lake. His shoulders move with silent laughter as he watches the tiny white heads bob to the surface, coming close, so very close, to the sinking crumbs.
If anybody wants to sign a guest book, get on the mailing list. We're going to be doing this again a couple of different places. I'm going to leave it out front where you bought your tickets.
And we would invite you to stay around for the Zox Sox musical extravaganza. It's a start them contracts.
I'd like to mention the open mic will resume in the Middle East at its regular time of 7 p.m. to 8:30 next Wednesday.
The rock hero, ladies and gentlemen.